Obviously, you guys have done a lot of Smallville coverage, and you actually host a spin-off show, Always Hold On to Arrow,
I do.
where you guys cover all the things that make Arrow, Arrow.
That's correct. Myself and Kev. Shout out to Kev.
Yes, shout out to Kev. He is awesome.
He is awesome.
So let me ask you this. Why Arrow?
Well, throughout Arrow's run, well, actually, even before that. So when we found out that there was going to be an Arrow TV show, Green Arrow TV show, I was incredibly disappointed that it was not going to be Justin Hartley. Um, at the time, right? Because again, it's coming. This show is coming on off of the heels of Smallville, like right off of them, and so super disappointed that wasn't him. But then after 3 episodes, I was hooked. I was like, "This is," and again, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic when I say this because it's kind of backed up. You could see a lot of it when you watch the early seasons of Arrow, the first, especially the first two. It's like an argument can be made that that was the best show on television at the time. There's an argument that can be made. And the fact that they were doing what they were doing on the CW is, especially at that particular time, incredible what they were able to do. And so it quickly became my favorite show that I look forward to every week through the ups and the downs. It was appointment TV for me at the time that it was on. In addition to, I think the only thing that was like that for me outside of Arrow was what, Game of Thrones and Mad Men.
Yeah.
Maybe those are probably the only ones, and I didn't get into the Chicago's until my one Chicago Wednesdays until a little bit later, as being as like fervently into them as I was. But yeah, those are like the top ones for me. Those are the ones that I made the time for, and everything else kind of like I watched them when I watched them. Glee was up there at the time too, also. Shout out to Glee.
Interesting pick. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so that was it. And I stayed watching when famously most people nodded off on Arrow after season 4 or after season 5 or whatever season they stopped watching, as we hear about from a lot of people when they talk about Arrow. It's like, oh, I stopped watching that next season, and so I should have been kept keeping a tally of that, like of the seasons people got off on. But when it was announced that it was ending, I was like, well, dang, well that stinks. And after the final episode, Kev slid in my DMs on Twitter and was like, "Hey, you want to do an Arrow podcast?" And I was like, "Sure, we can do that." And this is Arrow ended in 2020. Pre pandemic, it ended. It was like January or like early February when it ended. And then March hit, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was like, well, I guess I should talk to Kev. We don't have anything else to do. And then that's when we started the podcast.
Nice. That's awesome. It's funny for me because like with Smallville, I started watching it right after it ended, was when I first kind of got into it.
Okay.
So it's cool that like for you guys, the show ended and you guys are like, let's podcast about it.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting how that worked. That is interesting how that worked. I never really thought about it that way.
You wait till like right when it's done, and then it's like, let's go back and cover it.
Basically, and the thing is, like, we started covering the show. We started the podcast like what, 6-7 months after the show ended, because it was like that summer. During that time was when we started it, and then, as they say, the rest is history.
True that. So with Always Hold On to Arrow, I noticed you guys have a slightly different structure to how you do episodes. How you plan out your coverage of Arrow as opposed to like what Zach does with Smallville. So what exactly like was the like your philosophy or like with your style in regards to how you go about covering each season of Arrow?
Basically, we focus more on themes and characters that are going on in the show, and we cater our episodes around that. If there's a specific episode that has a lot in it that we need to talk about, or is particularly good or particularly bad, we'll discuss that individual episode. But normally, we kind of are big picturing what's going on, and the seasons as we've gone on, because we're on season 7 now. The show has these little mini arcs through it. And they're good starting and stopping points as to kind of chunk episodes, because they're talking about a certain type of theme and characters are going through a certain type of arc. And so we cater our episodes around that. But we'll also have specific episodes talking about just the villains, or early on, like the flashbacks were a big thing in Arrow. So we have an episode talking about the flashbacks in general. Instead of spending time on like each little part that we get in an episode, we talk about all of them as they form their own type of story. We do character analysis episodes, and we also try to have some fun and do some other things as well. We have an award ceremony at the end of each season, the Ollie Awards, and we give out, we each nominate things for different categories, like, MVP of the season. Our favorite one is the LVP, the least valuable player of the season, because there seems to be always somebody that like really sucks on the show for that particular season. And like best Olicity moment. We have the Imagine Dragons Award for the whatever romantic scene happens based on the infamous and famous and iconic Imagine Dragons scene from season 1. So yeah, so we try to have some fun with it there.
Awesome. That's really cool. What would you say is peak Arrow? Like, what's the best of the best? Like, which season would you say, like 1 and 2?
Yeah. 1 and 2, because even if you took out the rest, if you didn't do anything else if Arrow ended after seasons 1 and 2, it'd probably be the greatest TV show of all time, the greatest superhero TV show of all time if it ended after season 2. And they kind of are their own self-contained type of story. There's a beginning, middle, and end for everything. Everything lines up. Nothing's out of whack. It's incredible. It's really good stuff. Again, like Arrow walked so that Daredevil on Netflix years later could soar and fly. Like, we would not have that show if Arrow was not the proof of concept.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Do you feel like in a way Arrow was like held back or made to be less than it used to be when they introduced a lot of the other superheroes and other TV shows and kind of made it a big like a TV universe with The Flash and Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow and Batgirl? Do you think all of those shows and having to always do crossovers and connect with them, do you feel like that hurt Arrow as a TV show?
I'm going to say yes and no. And in the bits that it hurt it, yes, you could see which episodes they kind of they didn't have their fastball. Like, those are the ones like in and around crossover time. But then I only think it hurt it more as time went on. I think, again, the trend that started with, a lot with the MCU was also going on with the Arrowverse, because they were kind of going on at the same time, and building a universe was something that was in vogue. And so when they tried to do it on TV, that raised some eyebrows, but at the same time it was exciting, because it's like, you're going to try this on TV? That's hard to do. Like, it's easier for the movies to do it, and you can make the argument that they did it better than some of the movies did. And this is from not just their own company, but others. So you can make that argument, and with certain things. So, and then I think their focus, I think it definitely hurt in season 3, right? Because season 3 is when Flash has had it season 1. And so I think you can definitely make the argument that it hurt Arrow there. The first half of the show of that season is pretty good, but then when Flash started to take off, that's when that started to help. And then season 4 was just bad all around. But then after that, they kind of realized that they needed to kind of get back to basics with Arrow, and I think they kind of righted the ship and kind of found balance by the time they got to season 5. I think it was hard for everybody involved to kind of juggle everything, because they added a lot at once. So, because like after Flash, it was immediately into Legends, and then it kind of expanded from there, and then Supergirl right after that. But by the time we got to season 5, and then Flash had a couple of seasons, and Legends had one, they kind of knew how to juggle everything, and I think things were quote unquote fine for the most part. And each show had their own staff, and that kind of focused on them, and then they had the crossover staff, kind of like. But at the same time, I don't think it necessarily hurt. It only added things, because these are things that we wanted. Like, again, as fans of these characters, we wanted to see the Flash. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, when I saw those first promo things, that I hated it, and I was like, this is stupid. Why are they doing this? No, I was excited. I was like, this is everything that I wanted as a kid. Like to see these characters doing stuff together, and so and they were able to deliver. So I think adding it, like, it had its pros and cons. I don't think that it was overall necessarily a bad thing, and I don't think it overall necessarily hurt it. I think there were some learning curves, and I think there are some peaks and valleys, but they managed to right the ship. And the funny thing is, Arrow is the show that after everything is said and done, fared the best out of all the Arrowverse shows, Superman and Lois excluded, because Arrow, while it had a nosedive, it picked itself back up and was able to still do some stuff. You know, Legend had to do a hard pivot in the middle of its show to become like the wacky zany adventure show, and that's what ended up helping it and giving it its cult following. Flash never recovered from its nosedive, unfortunately, when it started so high, and then the other shows, you know, kind of struggled to gain footing. So, but Arrow's the one, after everything's all said and done, that fared the best.
I totally understand where you're coming from. What were your thoughts on the crossover?
The Crisis one?
Yeah, the Crisis crossover. Yes.
Well, I thought it was fun. I thought it was very ambitious. I've not revisited it since it came out. I remember being super excited about it because, again, this is something it was unprecedented to try to attempt the Crisis, and so everything that they were able to give cameo wise and all that other type of stuff, I thought was really fun, and you have to applaud the effort, I think, in making it. Could the story have been better? Yeah. But like, I liked a lot of the little moments that it gave us. It just unfortunately was, you know, greater than the sum of those parts.
What were your thoughts on the Smallville aspect of it in the second episode?
It was just fun to see Tom again, honestly. And then, you know, I go back and forth on whether or not I'm all the way down with how they handled it, mostly because I do not like the notion of the heroes looking for retirement all the time. Like, I don't like that. It seems like every single story that is to quote unquote be taken seriously with superhero properties is the last story, or them looking for a way out, or they're out but they have to get roped back in, and they're cynical and jaded at the world, that type of thing. I'm tired of that. You know, with the superheroes, part of, to me, what makes them interesting and what draws me to them is the fact that they have this indomitable will, and they have this indomitable conviction to persevere and keep going. And like they are Don Quixote and the impossible dream. That is what, to me, that is what it is. And so when you take that away and constantly have them being wanting to, you know, to quit or to give up their powers, and it's like, well, I can't do this anymore. It's just like, well, that's not why you joined up. Like you're a hero because you keep going and because you persevere, because you endure. And so and like, granted, it's the life they chose. It's a hard one, but they are the people that do that. That's why they are looked up to, and that's why they are aspirational and inspirational. So with that aspect, I don't necessarily I'm on board with it, but at the same time, like, if having watched Smallville, Clark was trying to be normal for more than 50% of that show, and was talking about and complaining about wanting to be normal. So it's kind of within the character, so that's part of the reason why it's kind of like, eh. So at this point, I'm just kind of like, well, I was glad to see Tom. I'm glad that he said yes to coming back to do this, because this is Tom pre Talkville, and he had barely just started doing conventions at that time. So at the time it was like, well, this is great. We get to see Tom again. So that's kind of where I land on.
Yeah, I know he kind of had a stretch there after Smallville ended where he kind of wanted to distance himself from it. You know, it kind of seemed like he wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
he tried to he did some movies.
Yeah.
He was in Lucifer for one
Yep.
of the seasons. Like, I know he tried to launch his own TV show, Section 13, and that unfortunately didn't come to fruition.
He's in Draft Day. Speaking of another sports movie,
Draft Day, yes, Brian Drew.
Yep. He's in Draft Day where literally every portion of the cast is involved in some sort of superhero property. Hilarious.
I know, isn't that something that Kevin Costner and
Costner? You have Jennifer Garner, Dennis Leary, Diggle's in the movie. Like,
Diggle, yes.
it's amazing. The Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, is in it. It's incredible.
Arian Foster is in it.
Arian Foster, real life football player.
Yes, and yet the movie still isn't all that great or memorable. But
that's why I love it.
We still watch it every year around draft time.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I almost forgot about that.
Yep.
So good. Well, while we're on the topic of Arrow here, to kind of finish up on this topic, you had mentioned that when Arrow first started, that you were kind of hoping to be Justin Hartley's show
Mm-hmm.
because of how popular that character was in Smallville.
Yes.
Do you have a preference between Justin Hartley's Green Arrow and Stephen Amell's Green Arrow?
Yeah, at this point, my preference would be Steven. Because he had more time, he put more into it than Justin did. And say what you will about him, but he is, at this point, the definitive one. Granted, we don't have a whole lot to go by, but he is the one. And I think there's have to be something said for that.
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
You know?
And the funny thing is, like, one of the criticisms of Arrow is, he's just being Batman.
Right.
And sometimes that comment annoys me because it's like, well, I mean, the character itself was created to be just like Batman because they needed another one, which is why he's another billionaire who has a sidekick, who has a cave and a car and gadgets, and like he has all these things, right? Like the character is that, and so and it's something that they make light of each time the two characters are together in any sort of circumstance, or in the comics in particular. If you watch Batman Brave with the Bold, they have they have this one-upsmanship type of relationship because they realize that they are very similar, right? And the only reason why Batman comes out on top in Batman Brave with the Bold is because he's Batman and it's his show. So that's part of it. And granted, also this is also coming off the heels of the Dark Knight trilogy where everybody was trying to do it. So yeah, he is a lot similar to Batman because that's what the character is. And so that doesn't necessarily bother me all that much. What does bother me though sometimes about the show is that they did not go and lean into the Oliver's like politics as much. But I think I realized that the powers that be probably said no to doing that, and they were just like, we're not going to do that on this show for whatever reason. They decided that we're not going to go down that route. And the show, interestingly enough, the show that they did allow to do that was Supergirl. But in some of those cases, that show, they did not go as hard as they probably should have, and they also were sloppier about it than I would have liked them to have been in a lot of those cases. So if there's a movie in the future that'll probably have them doing that, they'll probably lean into that more. They'll probably have him be more quippy, but I'm still confused because people seem to think that those are a bad thing. But if you look at every piece of media ever made, everybody quips. So if you read a book, there's the likelihood that you will see a character say something and the writer being like, they quipped. It will be present in that book. So I failed to see the problem with those types of things.
You should put that on a t-shirt, by the way.
I should.
I'd buy it.
Noted.
Yeah. Well, you and Kev touch on some really cool stuff with the podcast. There's actually been some recent episodes that I've been listening to of a similar Green Arrow-like character, Robin Hood. Nice. I really enjoyed you guys' coverage of the Robin Hood movies.
That was really fun to do.
It's especially the Men in Tights.
God, that movie's so funny.
Yeah, and just hearing Kev the whole time, just busting a gut was just so much fun.
Yeah, so I think that was the first time he'd seen it too. So
yeah. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't watched those movies, or if you have, you should also listen to their coverage on it because it's a lot of fun to listen to and kind of insightful as well.
We try to be. We try to be.